Welcome to the special webinar for Android testing with QFTest. From QFTest version 6 on, you will be able to use QFTest for Android apps too. I would like to start with some slides giving you an overview of testing Android with QFTest. And then I will switch to QFTest Live and show you how to record and run tests using an Android emulator or a real Android device. So what can you test? You can test Android apps with the suffix .apk. So that is what we have explicitly developed QFTest for. When you want to test web applications on your Android device, then it's better to use the QFTest engine for testing web applications and set it to the mobile mode. So this is especially about Android apps and on which devices. Either you have a real mobile device or tablet with the Android, or you can also run the tests on a virtual Android device installed on your computer and run it on an emulator. Right, so here's the graphics. You require a computer or a tablet, and then you require the mobile device or tablet, and you have to switch on the debug mode on the mobile device, and on the computer you require the software developer kit, which has the debug bridge so that you can actually access the real device. So they have to be linked either via a cable, or there's cableless connections as well, on whatever you prefer. Right, the Android virtual device has to run on a powerful computer, maybe even with hardware acceleration, because it requires quite a bit of power of the computer. And then you also require the Android software developer kit because of the debug bridge. So you run the virtual device in an emulator, and thus can record tests and replay tests to the emulator and that virtual device. Right, so what's new in QFTest? We had to enhance QFTest, especially the Quick Start wizard. There you'll have an entry for creating a setup sequence for Android. Then there's some new nodes for starting an Android device or Android virtual device and connect to it, then attach to a running virtual device or attach to a real device. In the menu extras, there's a new menu item, known Android devices. So you can see which virtual devices have been installed on your computer and what a real device is connected. The virtual devices don't have to be up and running. You just need to be created. So, and QFTest will show you the options because, you want to see what you can test on that computer. Right, then there's a special recording window because via that debug bridge, you can see what's happening on the screen and transfer that to the recording window. And you can also replay actions to the device, but you can't capture what's going on when you do a click or that on the real device or the emulator. So for capturing the actions, you require a separate window. Then you can record tests just like you're used to with other engines like the web browser or Java. Right, then there are some Android specific details that you can set with the select node, like when you want to do swipes on the application, or when you want to press the back button. And there's not really a right click on a mobile device. So when you replay a right click, that will be interpreted as a long click. And also when you record a long click, then that will be recorded as a right click, as that note. And also we enhanced the standard library that is shipped with QFTest by an Android package with quite a number of Android-specific procedures. So let's switch to QFTest. And yeah, the first thing I'd like to show you is when you have a look at the extras menu. Here's that menu item I just told you about, and that will show you the real UIs I connected and the various emulators I set up on that computer. You can set them up using the Android Studio. There's an explanation in the manual of QFTest how to do that. And when you already started QFTest and then find that you need to still set up the emulator and the virtual device, then you can do that and press refresh once you're finished with the setting up the emulator, and then that will show on that screen as well. Right, so let's connect to one of the emulators and record something. So as usual, you'll find the quick start wizard with the extras menu, and well, that's well known, that screen, nothing changed here. So here you'll find an extra entry for the Android application. Then click next. Then first I want to launch an emulator and connect to the virtual device there. Right, now I have to choose the device I want to use. When you leave the field empty, then the first option will be used. I can pick any of them, or I can choose the variable for the definition, and then at some point I have to set the variable with one of these names. And yeah, you can run a loop over the various emulators or set them via command line for your nightly runs. So here I'll choose the first device. Now I've got to choose an application. I can do that via the selector here, or just paste it. And yeah, there are two checkboxes which are pre-selected. So the first one is that every time you start the emulator, the application will be installed, or it's already there, reinstalled. That is because we assume that you always want to test the latest version of your application. So that's this checkbox for, and also we assume that you want to launch the application once it's installed to run the tests. Right, so let's select the demo application that you may know from other engines as well, that car configurator. Then QFTest provides us a name for the connection to the Android application. That's fine. And so let's say next, it's equal to finish. So here are what we selected. Now let's create a setup sequence and let's have a look at it. So same as with the others, set the variable for the connection, then wait whether the application has already been connected, and if not, then you can see one of the new notes, launch the Android emulator, and again wait till get connected, and then have a second wait note, that's a specific one for Android, waiting for the device to come up. So in that case, it'll be the virtual device. And then we'll wait for a component in that application so that we'll be sure that the application actually started on the virtual device. So if it's not started yet, then I need to launch the application and again wait for some component belonging to the application to show. Right, so let's do that and start the setup node. I can also make QFTest a bit smaller so we can have them next to each other. Now the emulator started, the virtual device is up and running, and QFTest installed the application again and launched it. And now we are in the login dialog of the application. So now we can start with recording and record the login. So I need to open the recording window, like I told you before. So that's the same start recording button as you're used to. With the recording window to the other side. Right, the recording window reflects the display of the application, of the virtual device, because the debug bridge does not allow us to record, to capture clicks and input on the virtual device. So that is why we have the separate QFTest recording window that can reflect the what the device is showing. And then when I click here and type user as an input and then click to password and type the password, which is user as well, and then I can click the login button and stop the recording. Right, I can change that name to login, and then let's have a look at what we recorded. So we have a click to the text field user, and then the input, and another click to the password field, and an input. You can see I typed user as well, and then click the button login. Right, so now I could go on recording, or well, I just want to replay that, I have to log off again. And here I'd like to show you the functionality of these two buttons. So you noticed maybe that when something changed in the emulator, it shortly afterwards showed here as well. That is because the automatic refresh is on. So when I switch that off and do something in the emulator, then that won't be updated. And I have to do the manual update using this one. So let's turn this off and go to File and Log Out. I can see nothing happened here. When I click Refresh, then QFTest fetches the current display and shows it in the recording window. So let me put that to automatically refresh. Right, and now let's replay the sequence. I selected it and run. Let's see, you can see that it was replayed, and the recording window shortly afterwards got the display that is showing in the emulator. Right, now a few more words about the recording window. You can activate another recording either via that button within QFTest or in the recording window, same with the check recording, or you could just record a component or procedures, like with all the other engines as well. Now, these are nodes that have existed before, and this enhance symbol makes the display larger, like this, and you can make it smaller as well, or you can set to that the number of pixels that the emulator has is represented exactly 1 pixel in the emulator, 1 pixel in the recording window. So that's this button. Right, and there's one last button left. That's the inspector. So when I press that, another window will open where I can have a look at the components. So when I click the selection and maybe click this, I don't want to click to the emulator like I just did, then nothing will happen, as you saw. So what I need to do when I want to select something, I need to click to the recording window, because only there QFTest can capture the click and actually react to it in the recording window, in the inspector, sorry. So now I click to that label, and you can see that in that application you have a number of panels and that label down there. Or I could select button, and then QFTest will take me to that button. So this inspector helps to find out about the classes and the hierarchy of the windows, of the components in the application. I can also, click, deselect this, and I can click some item in the tree, and QFTest will highlight the corresponding component in the recording window. Right, so let's close this. And yeah, that's about what I'd like to show you with the emulator. And now I'd like to switch to the real device and connect to that. So I'll run the Qooxdoo wizard again for a real device. And then I want to replay that sequence that we recorded with the emulator to the real device. Right, so now I can do the recording window and run, reset everything, stop the emulator. So no client showing anymore. Right, so then let me go to the extras and Qooxdoo wizard, and then next again Android application, and at this time connect to a real device, and then I can this list again. When you leave it empty, QFTest will use the first entry here, or again you can use a variable and set one of those names with the variable. Let's click this, then next. Let me choose the application again, and client name and finish. And you can see we get another setup, and here I want to add real device, the Android virtual device. Right, so now let me activate my real device, and yeah, right now I can run this setup node, and so you could see the application starting, and now the login menu is showing. I think I need to move the real device a bit closer to the camera. Well, you can see a bit. Let me replay the login. You can at least see it move. And now the application is showing. So let's enter the recording window, then we'll be able to see what happened. And yeah, now I can also, when I click to file, this will trigger the respective actions in the real device, as you can see. So let's stop the recording, call that logout. Right. And now let me replay the login again. As you can see, that's being executed on the real device. Okay, so you can develop tests on the emulator and then replay them on the real device, or vice versa, as you like. Right there in the options, in the recording window, there are some options. So when you activate this, you can control the real device also when you're not recording anything. So let me activate that. So now when I click this, that will open the menu on the real device as well, even though I'm not recording. Then you have automatic scaling. You can show screen borders. So yeah, you can see there's a scroll bar that appeared. You can deactivate highlighting after a click, have it on as the default. You can activate the toolbar, and you can then, when you're recording, you can also, these are the buttons that you know from the Android device for back and for home and for the last application or switching the application. And yeah, swipe on the top level component. That is an option for the swipe operations. So by default, they go to the top level component, but you can also disable that if you want to replay swipes to components, yeah, behind this, because that's a sort of pop-up panel hiding whatever is behind it. Right. This much about the recording window. And now the next thing I'd like to show you, I leave the recording window on because the camera doesn't capture the real device too well when it's too far away. And when it's close, then you can only see half of it. So I leave that on just, yeah, so that you can see what's happening. Right. The next thing I'd like to show you, there's example test suite for Android as well. Here we are. Let's open that. And here you have the link to the information about how to creating a virtual device if you haven't got one yet. When you want to try out this demo test suite. And this demo is also using smart IDs, which is another new feature coming with QFTest 6. And there's the link to the smart ID chapter in the manual. Right, let's have a look at the test. So the first test checks whether the correct language is showing on the application, because with Android devices, when they're set to English, then the application will come up in English. When it's set to German, then it'll come up in German. So yeah, this just checks whether there's the correct language showing. And then we got the test case checking the prices. So there's a little data driver iterating over the table rows. And then we got this test for the options. And it's creating a new vehicle, then changing the price, and then it will delete the newly created vehicle in the end. So here in the delete sequence, you have one mouse click that is has the modifier for the right click. So that will activate a long, or replay a long click, and thus activate the menu where you can choose delete from. Right, so the last bit I'd like to show you is the additional procedures from the standard library. So let me add a procedure call. This symbol above the blinking cursor is a button, really. So I click that, and here I can choose the standard library. And when I open the packages, the first one is the Android package. And there, for example, one useful package is the swipe package. So I could select the swipe down procedure. Then I have to put some ID for the component I want to swipe on. Right, so when I go to the table and record the table component, that will now be in the buffer. I can paste it here. And I'm not sure we'll see a lot because there's no scroll bar. So if you could scroll it, Ed would have scrolled now. So let's insert, I'll have a closer look at the standard library. So when I say locate procedure, that will take me into the standard library, into that package, to that procedure. Here in the general package, for example, you have procedures to do a click or a long click. And in the device package, for example, there's a procedure that will activate the back. So you can see this button that is at the bottom of the Android devices for back. So that can be activated via the select node. And as I told you in the slides, there are several details that can be selected for certain functionalities with Android. You'll find the list in the manual. So here's the back functionality. So let me copy this procedure. Copy, and I was this one, and then paste it. Right, and when I replay that, the back button will be activated, and yeah, you could see it is now back to the options. And when I play that again, we are back to the main window of the car configurator. Right, so this was the special webinar about Android. I hope you enjoyed it and will be able to use the new knowledge for testing your Android application. Thank you very much.